Well, Razorback fans, we know that the NCAA tournament starts up here in just a couple days for Arkansas, but what defines success for the Razorbacks in the tournament? Let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay with us for the Armada Team of the Week later this episode. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday. As if you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, yours truly is on his way to Providence or might be in Providence by the time you check this out. So, pretty excited to be up there. I have never been to Providence. I know it's really sad to admit this, but it's the truth. I've never been to New York City. I have never been to Boston. I have never been to Philadelphia. But I have been to Buffalo, New York, and I am going to be going to Providence. So, obviously, doing the right thing and seeing the real cities that people want to see up there in the Northeast. But still, I'm excited because it's the NCAA tournament, and Arkansas's in it. And I have confidence in Arkansas. I know I shouldn't, but I do. I feel good about it. And we're going to have, again, great coverage and great discussions up there dealing with all things of the NCAA tournament. But I alluded to it a little bit yesterday and talking about the Razorbacks in the tournament and the draw that they have and everything. And it's amazing how many people kind of feel differently than I do when it comes to what is a successful season for Arkansas this postseason. It's been a weird year. We all know that. They have not exactly set the world on fire when it comes to their regular season success at times. I think we all believe that they're playing their best basketball right now, but even then, it's had some issues come along with it. You lost to South Carolina on the road in embarrassing fashion. You've had some close calls. You've had some games that you had leads, but you blew them and ended up losing them. So even in your time frame that you've been playing your best basketball, it's not been the prettiest form of basketball. And before that, it's really kind of scary to think back to the beginning of SEC play. I did something stupid where I went back and I looked at some of the box scores for those games, some of the performances that the Razorbacks had, and just how brutal they were. Not necessarily just bad losses, because there were some losses that they had, like Florida, for instance. Ole Miss at home was tough. You think about Tennessee on the road. It wasn't just like you had awful, miserable losses. I think the Oklahoma and the LSU loss definitely were up there. But it's night and day. It's completely and totally different from what you saw from that stretch of the beginning of SEC play to where you're at now. And I remember doing a podcast on here, on Locked On, and thinking back to the idea that they would miss the NCAA tournament. That was a real thing for me. I got to the point to where I truly thought that they were missing out on it, and how this was going to be a tough pill to swallow because of all the hype and all the excitement and all of the players that came in and the attention that you had. And you got that exhibition win against Kansas. You had a top 10, top 15 ranking. You just had it all. And everyone was expecting it to be a certain way. And when it wasn't that certain way, everybody came raining down with the mockery and the insults and the just over the top ridiculous ha-ha moment of how, you thought he was going to be good. You thought he was going to be this. You thought Cal was going to do this. You're an idiot. I think back to how many Kentucky fans were saying, see, we tried to tell you. Oh, you tried to tell us that he was going to have a year where they don't make the NCAA tournament. They're going to be awful. No, nobody ever said that. The thing that everybody was always chalking up to Cal is like, oh, you're going to lose in the first round exit. Here it comes. And I remember just thinking, there was a time when the season was going on, I was so convinced that they weren't going to make the NCAA tournament that I was even saying, hey, give me a first round exit because at least they're getting into the tournament. There was a time I felt that way, but that time has come and gone. I don't feel that way anymore. I am going to be disappointed if they lose this first round game to Kansas. I'm going to be disappointed with them if they don't play well, if they have some of the same issues where they just can't make shots, they are blowing wide open layups, turning the ball over like crazy. I'm going to be frustrated by it. And it's an ever-evolving, ever-changing expectation that comes along with it. But I feel like for me, I need Arkansas to win at least a game in this tournament. Now, going to the round of 32 is not going to make me want to hang banners. It's not going to make me just pop bottles and be like, wow, what a run. That was fun. That was the greatest thing ever. It's not going to do that for me. But it's at least going to show and at least going to prove to me that the thing that this team needed the most when it came to their play and how well they were playing over the past few weeks, the thing that they needed the most was time, rest, bodies. Because let's be honest, that's what all of us are thinking about right now. We feel that this team can, maybe even should beat Kansas because the only thing that's kept them from really playing to that next level over the past few weeks, the times that they've had those struggles, the times that they had those bad games or those bad performances, or even in games where they lost late and lost these leads late, we have chalked it up to the lack of rest, the lack of depth, and the lack of time to prepare and get ready for that in the recovery. That's what we have chalked it up to. And I don't think it's unjustified. I don't think it's a dumb or stupid way to approach it. I think it's just a reality. And now here you are. Kansas is not a trash team, but they definitely are underachieving similarly to what Arkansas did for different reasons, I believe. But here you are with time. You have a full week to get ready, to get prepared, to get rested, to recover, and all that. You got a full week. You haven't had one of those in forever. In fact, the last time you did was before the Kentucky game, which we all know how that went. So you've had that. You've had depth become added. Bodies. I mean, you've added Boogie Flan now. Now, is that one player going to make that massive amount of difference? To be honest, yeah. Yeah. You can only play so many players. But assuming that you have 7 guys healthy, ready to go, having 8 now is a major difference, especially at the position of point guard. Again, I'm not expecting Boogie to just walk in and take over the game and become this spark that everyone's just like, holy crap, where'd this guy come from? This is insanity. This is insane. Like, it'd be nice if he did, but I don't think that's the expectation for him. But it is going to add an extra body to help out Nelly Davis, to help out guys like DJ Wagner, to keep Billy Richmond from having and forcing him to play point guard. Not to say that it's been bad. It's just you have a natural point guard. You have a natural guy who at that position can play at a high level. So it's only going to help you. So you have that. And you have an opponent in Kansas that is extremely beatable. I mean, think about it. This is one of the worst seeds that Bill Self has had at Kansas. It's one of the worst records. I think it's the most losses he suffered in the Big 12 as a head coach. There's been issues there. If you were going to beat Kansas, this would be the time to do it. This would be the time to make it happen. You're going up against a team that I believe is no better than the majority of the SEC teams you faced. And a lot of them that you beat. You can beat this team. You can beat Kansas. Now, after that, it gets dicey. More than likely, you're going to face St. John's. But even then, I'm going to start convincing myself why Arkansas is going to win that game. Because Cal's 8-2 against Rick Pitino. Cal, and everyone's going to be watching that game. Like, it's going to be a highly promoted, highly dramatic matchup. But Cal, in those moments when all eyes have been on the TV, that game talked about nonstop, he's come through in the clutch this season. Kentucky was that way. The Michigan game up in Madison Square Garden was that way. He has found ways to get it done when they have everyone watching and paying attention. Now, it's game by game. You got to take care of business in game one. We know that. I'm just telling you that my expectation is for the Razorbacks to continue to play well. My expectation is for them to win this game against Kansas. And my expectation is for them to go out, and if they do beat Kansas, to go out and play a St. John's team that's really good. But you should be in a position to hold your own and possibly win, maybe even should win. We'll see what happens. But if you found a way to get to that second weekend in the Sweet 16, if you found a way, the regular season and everything that you had happen, all the stuff that went against you, will not matter. That will be a highly successful season if you're able to manage that. But you got to win one. You got to win one. It's tough to win in the NCAA tournament. Why is that? Well, it sounds like a stupid question, and it maybe is, but we're going to talk about it. So stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, the Armada Team of the Week is brought to you by our friends over at Nissan with the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, our Locked On college basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart, from top-seeded stars to the unexpected upsets. These guys showcase the strength and the sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week, our Armada and clear-cut Team of the Week is the Florida Gators. The Gators, led by Walter Clayton's 17 points a game, just dominated the SEC tournament, winning each game by at least 9 points. Not only did Florida grab the fourth number one seed, but they are the nation's most efficient offense, and personally my pick to win it all. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what the Florida Gators have done right here. It's clear that our Team of the Week is out there ready to conquer and get the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. We're also brought to you by our friends over at Fabric by Gerber Life. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day, when you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why you're securing your future, and their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get the team life insurance that fits your family needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. You know, I can tell you that I'm not a parent, but I can see people, like I have brothers, sisters that have children, and there's nothing bigger, nothing more important to them than their own kids. And you can get millions of dollars in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank, which is also very important. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I'm asking a question here that a lot of you are probably going to find dumb, and that's fine. But we've heard how hard it is to win in the NCAA tournament. Now, the reason that some of you may find that question even dumb to ask is because, well, almost all postseason in all sports is extremely hard to win in. And yes, you would be right. You would be right. It is. But there's something unique about the NCAA tournament. Because it's win or go home. One loss and you're out. Single elimination. No series. Nothing. In the NBA, you have series and postseason play. High school basketball, you don't. But in college basketball, this is it. This is all you got. And every single team has a chance to win a national championship in that field of 68. Some have better chances than others, obviously. But everyone goes into the tournament knowing that they have an opportunity to win it all. So the motivation is going to be there no matter what. Nobody's going to go into a game of the NCAA tournament not mentally ready, not saying, oh man, this is big, we got to win this one. No one's going in like, oh, we have to do this, we have to play in the NCAA tournament. That's not a mindset. You have one bad game and it's all over. You have one great game and it changes lives. You think I'm being dramatic? Think I'm being dramatic? What's the difference between a round of 32 exit and a Sweet 16 exit? Seriously, what's the difference? What's the difference between an Elite Eight appearance and a Final Four? I'd say it's pretty massive. All of them can have their own merit and their own accomplishments and everything, but one game, one win changes how coaches are viewed. I was a little bit surprised. For instance, Bruce Pearl at Auburn. Great coach, right? Great team this year, right? They made it to the Final Four in 2019. Do you realize that every other year since he's been there, which I believe is in 2013, they have not made it past the second round other than that 1 year? I love Bruce Pearl as a coach. I think he's a phenomenal coach. But you're telling me that a guy like him, with all the great teams that he's had, especially over the past 5 years, only one time have they made it past the round of 32? And you think about regular season Rick Barnes, as they call him. Him getting to the Sweet 16 last year was a huge feat. Huge feat. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee's only been to one Elite Eight in their entire history of college basketball. One. That's as far as they've ever made it. That's it. And think about how the approach is for those coaches and how they're viewed. People bring it up with Cal from Kentucky mainly. He hasn't advanced to the Sweet 16 since before the pandemic. Had some bad losses to mid-major teams and all that crap. I mean, is that indicative on him? Yeah. Do you think that if he had made just one Sweet 16 over the past 3, 4, 5 years, it'd be a different feeling and approach from many of those Kentucky fans? Absolutely. It's hard to win. And I bring up the example. I know he's no longer the coach, but Eric Musselman being the Razorback head coach, where in 3 straight years he went 8-3 in the NCAA tournament. Folks, you have no idea how insane that is. How insane that is. Now, I would have loved if, instead of having it that way, having like 6 straight wins in one season, because then you would have won a national championship. But still, 8-3 in 3 straight years is incredible. Coaches are viewed differently. Players are viewed differently and remembered differently. It means everything, and it's so tough. The pressure is immense. Everyone's watching the NCAA tournament. Everyone's filling out a bracket. Everyone's paying attention. Everyone's watching. Everyone is rooting against you if you're a great team, because they love the Cinderella stories. They love having those mid-majors come up big. Everyone is against you, and they want you to lose, even if it means their bracket is trashed. It's hard to win this thing, and it's hard to win in this thing. But that's what makes it so great, and that's what makes it so special. Talk a little SEC. I want to bring this up too. If they don't win the title, is it a failure? We'll talk about it on the other side of the break. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the whole new next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent, if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Fast and easy hiring, posting a job for free is simple, and within a day, with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find the affordable top-tier freelancers to scale all of our businesses efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
The NCAA Tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA Tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. The SEC mentioned Auburn and Florida and Bama and like all these teams. Like the SEC got more teams out of that conference to enter into the NCAA tournament than any other conference ever has before. Broke a record. And it's deserving. It's deserving of it. I wouldn't have guessed that 10 years ago that this would ever be the case, but they have certainly upped their game, and you have some of the best teams, most deserving teams from the SEC in the tournament. You have 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds. Auburn, Florida, and, or I guess, sorry, 2 of the number 1 seeds with Auburn and Florida. Bama being a 2 seed, Tennessee being a 2 seed. So you're talking about of the top 8 seeds, 4 of them, half of them, are from your conference. And that's not to mention some other teams that are high seeded, if you'd like to say it like that. But Texas A&M being at a 4 seed, Kentucky being at a 3 seed. You got teams that are looking to try to make some noise in the NCAA tournament. Now, I feel like there's only a handful of teams that I actually believe would win a championship that's from the SEC. But I'm telling you right now, it's insane to me how the SEC is so dominant and so great in so many sports and wins championships pretty frequently in all other sports. But with men's college basketball, although they've upped their game, they haven't won a championship since the Kentucky team. Cal did it back in 2012. Before that was the back-to-back years with Billy Donovan in Florida. And even around that, there's only been a few teams that have even been close to winning a championship. I mean, Auburn went to the Final Four, should have gone to the championship game, but screwed it up. Bama got beat by UConn last year. Those are the closest ones here recently. South Carolina went to a stupid Final Four, which still is weird. But the point is, the SEC has not always been that conference, but this year they are that conference. I still believe Florida and Auburn are the 2 best teams in the country. It's not exactly a hot take. But we all know that the Cinderella stories are all cute, grand, and wonderful. But at the end of the day and at the end of the tournament, more often than not, the best team usually still wins. Or at least one of the best teams. And if you have 4 of the top 8 seeds, 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s, 50%. I feel like you have to win a title. The title has to come from the conference. If it doesn't happen this year, I don't know if it ever will. I really don't want it to be either Auburn or Alabama. I don't think those are basketball schools. They don't really deserve it. I really don't want it to be them. Florida, I wouldn't mind. They've already won it, and I don't mind Todd Golden. So, I'm not saying I'm rooting for them, but it wouldn't be as awful. I don't mind Rick Barnes either at Tennessee. Of course, they've already won it in baseball. They don't need another one. They'd be even more obnoxious than anything else. Maybe Arkansas is the year. I don't know. But the point is that the SEC done a lot of great things. They continue to do a lot of great things. But they got at some point in time win a championship. This year has to be the year. It has to be the year. I mean, Duke's really good. Houston's really good. But other than that, it's like there's not really any other teams that are on your level. At least the way that you've played. Get it done, SEC. Just get it done this year. Maybe Arkansas can do it. We'll start the chant. SEC, SEC. Maybe. Well, appreciate each and every one of you listening and watching into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel. Tomorrow afternoon from Providence. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.